know what this video is about. I just look really, really cute right now, so I feel like I should capture these moments on camera. Like when I just look good as fuck, skin glowing, like I just love it, and I just feel like it should be documented. So yeah, so today I am experiencing a couple of different like emotions and colors due to a lot of different like external factors. And the test that I'm being presented with is remaining in my own energy despite external influences. And by external influences, I mean people, their energies, their reactions, the environment, external influences, situations. So that's my challenge, because it was recently revealed to me that I haven't been using my responsibility or the opportunity to like control the energy in situations. And what I mean by that is that I am aware that I am a high vibrational being, and I'm aware that being high vibrational is going to have different effects on different people in different environments. Specifically that low vibrational people, or people who are experiencing a low vibration, I don't want to say low vibrational people who are in a low vibration or experiencing a low vibration, are not at a capacity to receive you, or not at a capacity to receive you with truth. So with that being said, there's the challenge of not feeling the need to defend yourself when your character is misread, not feeling the need to correct everybody's perception of you, because that is not your business and it's not under your control. And to be concerned about that is draining from your own energy that you need to replenish yourself. And lastly, to remember that being high vibrational, I control the interaction. I control the energy of every room I step foot in. So with that knowledge, I cannot, it is irresponsible of me to enter a space with anxiety, with selfishness, with an attitude, with a closed mind. Because I know that I set the tone with my energy. I am not supposed to be entering every space and not being aware, or not using my awareness to help transmute or control the energy in the room or in the situation. So for example, I know that if I go in a situation where I'm feeling socially awkward and being quiet, I can't sit there and now feel upset that no one's speaking to me, or I can't feel upset now because it's not a lit like mixer mingler thing where everyone's talking and kicking it up, because that's the energy you're presenting, and the energy that I present will be felt, and it will be imitated, or it will be reflected back to me in my reality, or in my experience, in my environment. So with that being said, another thing that I also realized was like, I've been projecting way more than I want to give credit for. Like, it's easy to say to other people like, oh, you're just projecting, when in reality that's just a projection of how you're feeling. So for example, I might go into a situation where, like, say I'm meeting someone new, or I'm gonna hang out with someone that doesn't really know me very well. So instead of just being like, hey, like, I really feel like, okay, this is gonna be a good interaction, like, oh, we're gonna be cool, it's gonna be a good time, I'm already into it, like, oh my gosh, they're gonna judge me, or oh my gosh, like, they probably are not gonna understand me, and it's just like, if I'm going into it with that type of energy, then that's the energy I'm gonna be met with. In reality, they could be just as nervous as I am, just as shy as I am, and I'm already putting this thing onto them. I'm putting a barrier up, an imaginary barrier from me expressing my true self, and I'm putting up an imaginary barrier for them, and not allowing themselves to prove themselves to me, where I say, they probably feel this way, they probably feel that way. Unless I receive confirmation, whether it's physical confirmation in the 3D, whether it's verbal confirmation that they say to me this is how they feel, or whether it's a spiritual confirmation, like a solid spiritual confirmation, I should not go into situations predispositioning myself. Because at the end of the day, again, having the energetic responsibility of being high vibrational, being a light being, being being all the things that I was sent to be, that responsibility is using it. Just like when you have information, it's your responsibility to use the information, or else that makes you ignorant from your own knowing, and ignorant to what's going on. And God will never leave us ignorant to the devices of Satan. Can I get an amen? Okay. So I've had a lot of change of hearts recently. I think it could be possibly because we are in a Venus retrograde right now, and Venus is the planet of love and relationships, and I am a Venus child. My zodiac sign is ruled by Venus, so I'm definitely feeling the stronger effects of this retrograde, because it really is making me take a deeper look into my relationships and interactions and personal relationships, and it's really having me hold a mirror to things that I created with my own energy, in either a lack of awareness, or either in a lack of using the awareness that I had, if I had any at the time, or just seeing how I created certain situations, seeing how I played into certain things. Because one thing, like on my healing journey that I received was that, I played a role in my own heartbreak when it did come to me experiencing that. But then it's like, not only in that scenario or like in that relationship. That's what I'm now seeing, and it's fucking crazy. Because it's like, I was able to say, like, okay, yeah, like I broke my own heart because I, imagined this person to be someone that they're not, and I defended that fantasy in my own mind, and I responded to reality as if the fantasy that I had in my head was real. Okay, that was a realization that I had to face about my healing journey. And when I say healing journey, I mean healing from past relationship trauma, childhood trauma, all types of things. But because at the time I did have a heartbreak to heal from, that was something that came up in the beginning. So in healing, that was something I understood. I played a role in my own heartbreak. Now this Venus retrograde is making me see now that I play a role in the way all of my relationships go. I play a role in the way all of my relationships go. And I probably play more of a role. My bad. I had to take that call real quick. But what I was saying, I got my camera dirty. It's okay. I still look cute. What I was saying was, I am now learning more how I play a part in every single one of my relationships, and probably more of a part than I've even been aware of, probably more of a part that I realize, and probably more of a part than I would have thought. So this for me is a new interesting revelation, because it makes me assess my relationships, and then it makes me assess my effect on it. So if there's a relationship in my life where I feel like there is a lot of turmoil, or a lot of hurt, or a lot of trauma, or a lot of drama, if there's a relationship in my life that I feel like is not the way I would want it to be, I'm now taking a look at those relationships and questioning why, and putting my best foot forward in all senses and all aspects of understanding and understanding and overstanding. And that's a lot. That's a huge responsibility, because in understanding something, or understanding something, or overstanding something, you have to really remove yourself from it and honor the truth of it. Because your truth and the truth are two different things, especially if we're talking about relationships where there's two people involved. There's then going to be their truth, your truth, and the truth, and there has to be a common ground of understanding for the truth, while still holding space for and respecting their truth and your truth. One thing for me that I have a natural inclination to do is I call it gaslighting myself, but whenever I see something's not going right, I always go to myself first. I'd be like, am I tripping? You know how like sometimes you'll come to a conclusion about something and you have that one homegirl that you call to be like, yo, am I tripping? And you got to put them on. I always do that with myself. And then of course I'll call the homegirl and ask her if I'm tripping. But even when I ask them if I'm tripping, like majority of the time I'm not. And I'm not trying to say I'm right all the time because I'm not perfect, but majority of the time I'm not tripping. So that does instill a certain level of trust in my own intuition, because we're supposed to trust our intuition 100%. But then there are those moments where there's another perspective that could be more beneficial. I could say, oh, this is how I feel, this is how I want to do. And they'll say, you know, like, I could see why you feel this way, but, you know, consider this, And now you have a whole new perspective shift where you realize that maybe you did have a warped perception, or maybe you did have a distorted perception where it's like, okay, it probably wasn't even like that for real, but I felt like it was like that, or I projected it to be like that. So yeah, it's kind of making me take like a really deep look at the situations and the relationships that I felt like I'm not fond of. And that doesn't mean that I'm wrong in every situation, and that doesn't mean that every relationship is supposed to sustain or grow or become better. Like, sometimes it just has to have a moment of clarity for both people to understand that maybe there is no relationship there to be invested in the first place. Or it's like, maybe this was a waste of time, or maybe this season has ended and it no longer serves either one of us and we've been holding on to it. Or maybe, you know, it was never something that was supposed to be built because there was never a solid ground or foundation, or neither one of you were even living in your truth to even be in a frequency or a place where you're going to attract or cultivate healthy relationships. That was a mouthful, but stay with me. So yeah, me taking a deeper look into these situations, these relationships, and taking a deeper look at the way that I played a role in these relationships is one part of it. And it doesn't mean that I should have the expectation for all those relationships to grow or become stronger or better. Sometimes that deep perspective shift is realizing that this was never a relationship for either one of us to be involved in. And that's completely fine. You know, and this for me personally is a lot of growth, especially coming from someone who is an ex or reformed people pleaser, where I was horrible at cutting people off and I didn't know how to, and I never established boundaries a day in my life, to then evolving and growing to becoming someone who is able to discern when I don't want to be a part of something, or if someone doesn't feel like they're for me, and removing myself from it, but also removing myself in a way that's so abrupt and swift that it can in turn like hurt somebody else. So it's like there's a difference between like protecting your peace and making a decision where it's like this makes sense, versus like just kind of running from something as a defense mechanism. So it's like that's another thing that I had to look at really deeply too, because it's like it might feel like, yeah, like fuck everybody, I'm gonna cut them off, versus like it could have just been a conversation, or you just needed to establish a boundary. Like, cutting them off is not always the answer. Sometimes the answer is just knowing when to establish the boundary.